She spoke very quickly, nervously. She told a lot of jokes, and not all of them landed. I haven't seen Mir Chun in this trial be so sort of irritated, and it came across, I think, as being irritated with her level of detail. That's something, if you're the DA, you're worried about.
Her testimony's a little bit irrelevant.
I think Stormy Daniels' testimony could have been accomplished with 3 words, in the sense that we had sex. Everything else was probably unnecessary. And then, to me, testimony like saying, well, he was a lot physically larger than me, and I wasn't intimidated, but it's out there. He was bigger than me. He was blocking the door. It goes back to the issue. This is not a sex assault case, and the defense is going to argue, and right or wrong, this is what they will argue on appeal, that that kind of testimony turned this into a quasi-sex assault case. Stormy Daniels is one of those witnesses that tends to not just answer the question asked, but add her own editorial, and that is a really dangerous thing.
The cross-exam, boy, her responses were disastrous. I mean, do you hate Donald Trump? Yes, of course she does. That's a big deal. When the witness hates the person whose liberty is at stake, that's a big damn deal. And she's putting out tweets, fantasizing about him being in jail. That really undermines the credibility. The fact that she owes him $500,000. She, by order of a court, owes Donald Trump $500,000 and said, I will never pay him. I will defy a court order. The defense is going to say she's willing to defy a court order. Why? She's not willing to respect an order of a judge. Why is she going to respect this oath she took?
There have been a couple times where she seems to be cracking a joke, trying to get a reaction from the jury, and our reporters in the room have noted that the jury hasn't seemed to respond to that.
No, they're taking their job seriously.
I mean, what do you make of that?
Humor is risky in the courtroom, especially if you go in with lines, like it looks like Stormy. If something happens spontaneously, if an easel falls over, people will laugh. They're human. But it's never going to work if you go in there like, I'm going to amuse the jury. I'm going to sort of say this clever thing.
This is an entirely unnecessary witness. This is a form of punishment. They're trying to use a witness for punitive purposes and, in my view, political purposes. And this is what happens. And it happened because the judge lost control of his courtroom.
And then we get to the details, the silk pajamas, the kind of lotion he was wearing. I can't imagine how the Court of Appeals in New York that reversed the Harvey Weinstein conviction, which was a harder case to reverse, wouldn't reverse this conviction if it got up there. I would certainly recommend to the prosecutors in this case that they study the Weinstein case very carefully, because it gives a roadmap to what you can't do. And this prosecutor is just following the roadmap of what you can't do.
The judge said, I agree that it would have been better if some of these things had been left unsaid. Now, to you, sir, is that common for a judge to say?
He's suggesting now he's going to ask the jury to pretend that they didn't hear it, so they could just unhear it rather than hoping that it was unsaid. Of course, that's not going to work. But what was baffling is that the judge created this dumpster fire that went off in his courtroom. It was the defense that said there's no reason for this witness. She's not material to the case. The details of their alleged tryst doesn't have any bearing on the crime. This was not just to humiliate the president. They wanted to poison the well with the jury.
By the way, it wasn't so salacious. I mean, she said the missionary position, and she said the word condom. So, I mean, that was basically it.
This is porn for sexless Democrats. Listening to testimony from an aging sex worker about Trump in a courtroom, you have everything. It's almost as erotic as listening to NPR while feeding grapes to your cat with myocarditis.